After 10 years of silence, I miraculously regained my hearing, but kept it hidden from my family. Jenna's fingers trembled around the paintbrush, quivering with a lightning bolt of emotions that mirrored the chaos in her mind. In the quiet corners of her studio, she had transformed years of trauma into vibrant landscapes. Yet now, with sound flooding her ears, each brushstroke felt both liberating and suffocating. The familiar silence she had navigated for a decade had suddenly turned into a cacophony of noise, and the weight of her secret crushed down harder than any physical burden she'd ever faced. Each day at the therapy clinic, she fought to hide her newfound ability, blending professionalism with an underlying anxiety. Colleagues often complimented her, recognizing her as a relentless advocate for her patients. Unbeknownst to them, she carried a truth that could shatter the very foundation of her existence, the thin line between gratitude for her recovery and guilt for the silence it created in her life. How could she explain a miracle without tearing the fabric of connection so delicately woven with her family's love, sacrifice, and struggle? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Her heart raced at the thought of dinner with her family that evening. A seemingly simple event that thundered with impending drama beneath its surface. Laughter echoed through her mind as she envisioned their proud smiles. Yet the fear of revealing her hearing gnawed at her insides. Would their celebration of her triumph swallow her whole? Would they feel betrayed upon learning that she had spent years listening to them without saying a word? Each moment felt like a tightrope act. Every smile and clink of glass weighed down by the delicious yet agonizing secret she harbored. Sitting at the table, she could see her father, an eternal beacon of strength, his knowing gaze resting on her, as he recounted stories of shared struggles. Each laugh echoed crystal clear, sending ripples of panic through her. She felt like an intruder in her own family, unable to connect as the sounds of joy cascaded around her. As the conversation flowed effortlessly, she wrestled with the chaos in her mind, and felt the corners of her mouth twitching up into a smile, torn between honor and fear. What if each joyous note she heard subsequently became a reminder of her silence? The moment of clarity came amidst laughter, the fatigue of concealment solidifying into a nearly palpable force inside her chest. She wanted to shout the truth to the wind, but inhaling that exhilarating sense of relief felt like grasping the impossible. Her fingers tightened around her paintbrush, its bristles capturing her invisible agony as colors danced upon the canvas. Could she bear the thought of keeping her hearing a secret any longer? Desperation clawed at her walls as every face around the table filled her with love, and every unspoken word constricted her throat. Jenna's mind raced against the encroaching silence as she glimpsed her father's hopeful eyes, steeped in expectation. The pressure grew heavier, a cold grip around her heart, each breath turning into a silent plea for a way out of her dilemma. She felt torn, a marionette hung between joy and anguish. Each thread of connection to her family writhed in uncertainty. Would her truth deepen their bond, or would it shatter the unspoken harmony of love and sacrifice that they had built together? As Jenna locked eyes with her family, her pulse crescendoed, a thunderous beat against a backdrop of unconditional support. The air thickened with unuttered sentiments as she whispered, "I can hear you." The truth trembled on her lips, ready to unravel the delicate fabric of her life, leaving what waited ahead shrouded in shadows. Her heart hung in the balance, teetering on the brink of revelation that might change everything. Jenna's words hung in the air, heavy and expectant, as silence gripped the dinner table. The clinking cutlery stilled, and the chatter dissipated into an almost palpable tension. For a heartbeat, time itself seemed to hold its breath. denying her the satisfaction of release from the burden she had carried for so long. The faces turned toward her, wide-eyed, and she could see the myriad emotions flickering in their expressions. Confusion, concern, and even traces of joy, too complex and intertwined to decipher immediately. Her father was the first to break the stillness. "What do you mean you can hear us?" His tone bore the weight of disbelief, mingled with a protective instinct that had always characterized his approach to her. He had fought valiantly against her challenges, and the sight of him now stirred a storm of guilt within her. Before she could answer, her mother's hand shot to her mouth, eyes glistening. "Jenna, after all these years, I thought..." There were unspoken fears churning beneath her mother's words, echoes of the worry that had defined so many of their conversations around the dinner table over the past decade. Jenna felt herself shrinking under their scrutiny, enveloped in love yet beaten by a tidal wave of guilt. She had waited so long for this moment of connection, yet now that it was here, all she could feel was the sting of betrayal. "I didn't want to hurt you," she finally said, her voice trembling, barely a whisper against the tumult. "I didn't want you to think I'd been listening to you without telling you. I wasn't ready." "Ready for what?" her younger sister Ella interjected, her expression caught between laughter and tears. "This is amazing. You can hear us. This means..." But her exuberance faded as she caught sight of Jenna's distress. "Oh, Jenna." The warmth of affection turned bitter as Jenna caught glimpses of their reactions. Surprise, delight, confusion. Her heart battled with the knowledge that their celebration was entwined with a mystery that had drained her of honesty for years. Each precious sound punctuating the air suddenly felt delicate, an egg balanced atop a tensed wire, threatening to shatter the moment. "I didn't know if I could handle hearing everything again. I didn't know if you could handle it. I've missed so much, and I didn't want to face it alone. I don't know how to explain everything," she stammered, her words tumbling out like a confession. Her father leaned in, his voice steady and calm. "Your silence was our silence, Jenna. We've carried this weight with you. You don't have to face it alone anymore. We're here. You don't have to hide who you are." Yet, as comfort poured in, shadows twisted around the edges of her mind. Would their unconditional support truly erase the years lost to silence? Would they forgive her for hiding a fundamental truth of her life, the one thing she had prayed for every night during her silence? That gap, the chasm of unshared experiences, still stretched wide between them, and she could feel it beckoning. Moreover, Jenna discovered the stark fear roiling within her. Was she ready to embrace this new chapter? Could she trust herself to find the words, to break free of the painting she had hidden behind for years? Exhaling a shaky breath, she stood taller. The revelation of her truth marked a new beginning, yet its weight boomeranged into the depths of her uncertainty. She had only unearthed her hearing, but how would she navigate the complex symphony of emotions that accompanied it? As she stepped away from the table, her mind swimming with strained questions, she felt the painted landscape of her life shift once more. Every drop of sound, every brushstroke of truth threatened to expose both her vulnerabilities and hints of resilience. What would she do next? How could she leverage her regained hearing to forge deeper connections, both personally and professionally, without betraying the remnants of her silence? The journey ahead stretched out before her like an uncharted canvas, laden with possibilities and perils alike. The room buzzed anxiously, but Jenna's thoughts spiraled inward, churning with the weight of uncertainty. How could she share this new part of herself without losing her family's love in the process? The answer lay just beyond her grasp, glimmering in a world filled with color, waiting for her to choose to paint it fully. As Jenna moved away from the table, she felt the air shift around her, thick with unspoken words and complicated emotions. She needed space to breathe, to gather her scattered thoughts. The kitchen felt suffocating. The warmth from the stove was overwhelming. With purpose, she stepped onto the porch, where the cool night air contrasted sharply with the warmth of the home she had known for so long. Reflecting on the past 10 years, she understood now that her silence had been both a protection and a prison. The moments she had observed from the sidelines became a series of anxious correlatives, reverberating in her mind like echoes from a forgotten dream. But now, with her newfound ability to hear, she faced the daunting task of reconnecting not only with her family, but with her own sense of self. The distant sounds of laughter from the living room seeped through the walls, a soundtrack of a life she once watched unfold from a distance. As she continued to breathe in the crisp night air, Jenna contemplated the paths available to her. While her family's support was unshakable, a nagging fear visited her thoughts. Would they ever fully understand the weight of her decision to remain silent? Would they resent her for it, or deepen their bond through this new understanding? Jenna considered her professional aspirations too. The thought of sharing her hearing with colleagues sent waves of apprehension through her. For years, she had built a reputation as a silent observer, keenly attuned, but cloaked in reticence. Would her revelation alter perceptions, forcing a recalibration in the way others viewed her? The delicate threads of relationship she had woven might fray in the wake of her truth. Taking her phone from her pocket, she reopened the notes app that had served as her confidant for the last decade. Writing had been her voice, condensing thoughts and feelings into structured lines that offered clarity. As she typed, a sense of empowerment vibrated through her fingertips. She initiated a list. Areas where she could improve her communication, opportunities to enhance her professional standing, and ways to reach out emotionally to her family. With each bullet point, she envisioned the person she wanted to be, a bridge between her past silence and her new reality. The fear of vulnerability lingered as she imagined sharing fragments of her life that had long been buried, but it was soon overshadowed by the flicker of hope. Unearthing her voice could lead not only to personal growth, but potentially to deeper connections she'd thought unreachable. Still, the core question loomed heavy in her chest. How would she facilitate these conversations to bring about reconciliation? Clarity hovered just out of reach, and Jenna knew facing her family again would require not only honesty, but a brave willingness to embrace discomfort. The moonlight cast a soft glow, illuminating the undeniable truth that change, while daunting, had already begun. She could feel its energy coursing through her, an electric anticipation of the conversations that awaited. The depth of her silence had always been profound. Now, equally vast was the challenge of trusting again, of stepping into the light even when it felt safer to linger in the shadows. As Jenna took one last look at the stars, she resolved to approach her family the next day, ready to confront her fears. Perhaps they could navigate this new terrain together, working to dissolve the uncertainties rooted in their past. The tantalizing prospect of shared understanding beckoned her forward, but more pressing was the professional world that lay before her. Would her initial attempts to communicate this transformation in her life inspire others? The time had come to face the risks entwined in her newfound voice. How would her colleagues react when they learned the true extent of her experiences? The questions loomed heavy, a storm of possibilities waiting on the horizon. But Jenna felt the sheer thrill of potential charge the air around her. The next chapter awaited, and she was ready to redefine the narrative of her life, one word at a time. Was the world truly ready for Jenna, reborn? The sun rose with a hesitant glow, illuminating the remnants of Jenna's doubts and revelations. The promises she made to herself whispered like wind through a rustling grove, instilling her with a mix of determination and trepidation. Today was the day she would break her silence, weaving words into the fabric of her family's reality, exposing them to the intricate layers of her life that had remained unseen. As she prepared herself, the remnants of last night's anxiety clung to her like a second skin. Each brush of her hair and every article of clothing felt weighted by the magnitude of her choices. She had devised a plan, a careful approach that had taken shape in the clarity of her nighttime reflections, but a nagging doubt gnawed at her resolve. Would her family embrace this new version of her, or would they recoil in shock, struggling to reconcile the girl they thought they knew with the woman she was becoming. The kitchen was a hive of activity as Jenna stepped inside, the aroma of breakfast wafting through the air, inviting yet intimidating. Her mother bustled about, unconsciously humming a tune that Jenna had heard 1,000 times before. It would have been comforting had she not been so acutely aware of her own impending revelation. "Good morning, honey," her mother called cheerfully, breaking through Jenna's introspection. She couldn't help but smile back, though the weight of her secret pressed heavily on her chest. "You're up early. Everything okay?" "Yeah, I just wanted to talk to everyone. There's something important I need to share." The words floated out, tentative and unsteady, as if testing the waters of expectation that surrounded the table. Her mother's brow knit with concern. "Is everything all right? You seem a bit distant." Jenna felt her heart race. The very inquiry she used to shy away from now felt like a piercing spotlight focused solely on her. "I'm okay. Just evolving," she said, a phrase borrowed from the list crafted on her phone. Was it too vague? Perhaps. As she joined her family at the table, her siblings were engaged in playful banter, their laughter echoing joyfully against the morning stillness. It clenched her heart, a reminder of the fun she watched from a distance, silenced by her own reservations. The plan to reveal herself amidst this familial warmth began to take shape in her thoughts. It was now or never, a singular moment that could either bridge the chasm of misunderstanding or exacerbate the divide that had grown with years of silence. She toyed with the idea of blurted out, to tear off the bandage quickly to avoid the overwhelming anticipation that coiled tightly in her gut. Can I have everyone's attention?" Jenna's voice wavered, pulling the room toward her. Laughter subsided, curiosity replacing the momentary levity. "I've been working on myself, and I think it's time to let you all in on something." The words felt clunky, but her voice rang with earnestness. "Are you okay, Jenna?" her younger brother asked, genuine concern flashing in his eyes. "I am, actually. No, I'm better than okay. I can hear you all. I've been able to hear for a while now, but I didn't know how to share it with you. I was scared." The truth hung like an unexpected blow, a dynamic shift that altered the very air they breathed. The silence stretched, a thick wall of shock laced with tentative disbelief. Their expressions flickered. Surprise, confusion, and something else. Disappointment, perhaps. Her heart sank as she braced for their reactions. Before anyone could respond, Jenna felt as though the floodgates had opened. She needed to clarify, to right the misinterpretations that lay ahead. "Please understand. I needed time to process everything, to grow into this new reality. I wanted to tell you this when I felt ready, but I see now that hiding it from all of you only served to deepen the silence." As she spoke, Jenna recognized the irony that butted against her passion for connection. This moment bore the weight of vulnerability she once feared. Her words, tinged with anticipation, begged for understanding, yearning for a bridge to cross this emotional expanse. The uncomfortable pause reverberated, yet Jenna felt a stirring igniting within her. She was no longer the silent observer. She had emerged as a participant, ready to rewrite her narrative. But even as she spoke, she couldn't shake the tingling anxiety prickling at her thoughts. Would they embrace this transformation, or withdraw into the safety of their prior assumptions? Just then, the realization that more than just communication was at stake struck her with greater intensity. Familial bonds could reshape with the truth, or they could fray under the weight of unaddressed sorrow. 4 pairs of eyes scrutinized her, and the chasm between her past and the truth of her present seemed broader than she anticipated. With bated breath, she awaited their response, unsure of what acceptance or rejection would feel like. Would they meet her newfound voice with warmth or distance? Jenna stood poised to face the intricate complexities of love, family, and personal evolution. Each question lingered in the air as the tension thickened, and Jenna braced herself for whatever the outcome might be. But as she held her breath, a glimmer of courage blossomed within her, another part of her identity, one that craved space to grow, whether others were ready or not. This was just the beginning. How would she integrate this new truth into her professional realm? The stakes were rising, and her next leap into the world awaited her. The air hummed with palpable tension, each second stretching like an elastic band ready to snap. Jenna's heart raced as she sensed the weight of her family's silence. She could practically feel their thoughts racing, darting in every direction as they processed her revelation. Would they feel betrayed for her years of secrecy? Would they mourn what they thought was lost? Her mother, eyes wide with disbelief, seemed to be searching for the right words, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Her younger brother's frown flickered between confusion and concern. In the silence, Jenna could almost hear her own internal clock ticking down, counting the moments until their reaction would shatter the stillness enveloping them. "I don't understand, Jenna," her sister finally broke in, taking a breath as if to steady herself. "You've been hearing this whole time?" There was an edge to her voice that suggested both disbelief and an almost protective instinct. Jenna knew that this was not just about the new reality she had revealed. It was about the trust that had now shifted. "Yeah," she whispered, fighting the sting of her sister's reaction. "It's been difficult for me to talk about it. I wanted to wait until I could figure things out myself." The weight of her unspoken words pressed against her as she felt the urge to explain herself further, to justify her decisions, but she hesitated. Would they see her intent? The desire to connect, despite the distance she had maintained? The facade she had constructed over years was crumbling, and with it, Jenna grappled with the fear that her family might not fully understand why she had made her choices. "Can we have a moment to digest this?" her father finally interjected, voice thick with emotion. "This is..." He paused, searching for the right phrase. "This is not what we expected at all." As he navigated his own feelings, Jenna's mind raced with how this moment reflected her struggle, not just with her hearing, but with her identity. Would this one act of honesty now shape her future interactions? They had made assumptions about her silence. Believing her inability to hear was an impenetrable barrier. In their eyes, what could this newfound clarity and identity mean? In her younger brother's brows furrowing, she noticed a thought brewing behind his eyes. She recognized a keen sense of empathy there, the initial hesitance, but she hoped he would be able to reach across the chasm of confusion and disappointment. "I'm still your sister," Jenna asserted, raising her voice slightly. "I didn't change. I've just learned to hear the world around me. The world changed. It opened up for me. I want all of you to come with me." More silence ensued, each second thrumming with uncertainty. Jenna's intuition kicked in, reshaping her focus inward. She could hear the distant patter of her heartbeat, pounding with an urgency that enveloped her voice. But this was not just about acceptance. It was also about her own acceptance of who she was becoming. If they couldn't embrace her truth, how could she survive in her new reality? A sudden thought struck her as she scanned her family's faces. Would they be willing to help her navigate the professional call to embrace her newfound skills as well? Could they support her as she began to share this part of herself with colleagues and contacts who had only known her silence? As she felt their scrutiny, the courage that had mingled with anxiety began to solidify into conviction. "I know this is unexpected, but I want to take the next steps together. Family means we grow together, right?" Just then, her mother's embrace interrupted the cloudy uncertainty hanging over the table. She wrapped Jenna in warmth, and for a moment, the world felt quieter, somehow more manageable. The authenticity of that hug reminded Jenna how vital this connection was, not just to share her voice, but to explore this bond anew, built on both confidence and vulnerability. Yet, in this moment of connection, A question flitted through her mind, unresolved and pressing. Would her courage in the face of personal truth be met with the same in her professional life? As she slowly pulled back, her heart racing from the embrace, questions of authenticity in the workplace stirred within her. The world ahead was daunting, yet ripe with opportunity. Would she find allies in her professional environment? Or would there be antagonists eager to push back against her evolution? Her family was still processing, but she felt the electric thrill of potential awakening, myriad paths unfolding. How could she navigate this complex maze of understanding while stepping into the broader arena of her professional calling? With a renewed sense of purpose, Jenna took a deep breath, ready to explore whatever came next, not just with her family, but beyond those familial walls. How would she begin her journey as a newly voiced professional, confronting both opportunities and the potential fears that may disturb her blossoming authenticity? The following days felt like a whirlwind for Jenna, each moment distorted by the push and pull of excitement and anxiety. Despite the vibrant potential she envisioned, the nagging doubt left her restless. She layered herself in a mix of apprehension and eagerness as she approached her workplace, where she had always been regarded not only as a quiet presence, but as a dedicated worker who mostly oversaw projects from the sidelines. Dueling thoughts began to cascade in her mind. Would her colleagues regard her as an imposter? How could she step into her new reality in front of people who had always defined her by her silence? At her desk, Jenna shuffled through a pile of documents, her fingers tracing the familiar textures as if they were comforting talismans from her prior self. Today, she had purpose. She intended to present her ideas during the next team meeting. The thought terrified her, but burning beneath the surface was an undeniable conviction that she needed to embrace this change. She wanted to be heard and acknowledged, not just to shout into a void. Her longing for acceptance clashed violently with a more profound sense of mastery, a newly found eagerness to assert herself in discussions she would have shied away from before. Yet, the fear of stepping outside her comfort zone felt like a weight in her stomach, an anchor pulling her back. With her heart pounding in her ears, she glanced at her reflection in the computer screen, summoning a smile that still felt foreign. The woman staring back seemed different, infused with a rare blend of vulnerability and strength. As the afternoon approached, Jenna prepared for the meeting. The conference room buzzed with the background chatter of her colleagues. Each laughter and spoken thought amplified her inner turmoil. Holding her breath, she joined her team, focused on maintaining a composed facade. The air grew thick with anticipation, tension crackling like static. When it was her turn to speak, a swirl of emotions whirled within her, a heady mix of determination battling trepidation. "I've been reflecting on our recent project," she started, her voice wavering slightly as she pushed through layers of fear. "I think we need to consider a new approach to enhance engagement." Every word felt like a leap off a precipice into unknown depths, but as she continued to share her insights, ideas that had simmered for years beneath layers of silence, she noticed the shift in the room. Eyes widened, heads nodded, and colleagues leaned in. A sense of connection hung in the air as her words began to animate the previously stale discussions. Jenna could finally feel the room absorbing her perspective, her voice gaining its resonance. After the meeting, offers of encouragement trickled her way, compliments bursting forth like sunlight breaking through overcast skies. Jenna clung tightly to the warmth of their acknowledgement. It was startling, yet soothing to hear her voice matter. Yet, the lingering question remained. Would this spark carry her through the inevitable challenges that lay ahead? What would happen when welcome changes yielded pushback or ignorance from others less inclined to recognize her evolution? That evening, Jenna poured herself a glass of wine and pondered the dichotomy of the day. Her family's acceptance had ignited a new flame within, but it was her professional world that loomed as an uneven battlefield ahead. She was unsteady yet ready. How could she continue to cultivate this growing strength while untangling the knots of resistance she might encounter? A sense of determination coiled tightly within her, accompanied by unease about the antagonism she might face. Would there be allies or adversaries as she unveiled herself further to the workplace? As her thoughts circled, a sharp realization struck her. The journey was just beginning. How effectively could she confront the fears and doubts represented by both her familial and professional worlds? What might it take for her to solidify her newfound voice into an undeniable presence amid potential scrutiny? Jenna's heart raced at the prospect of this duality. She grasped her phone, scrolling for support from her sister. This time, she would ask for guidance, to continue building upon her foundation of vulnerability and courage. She needed to prepare for what lay ahead, to ensure she could confront the challenges emerging on the horizon. Would she be bold enough to ask for the support they had once overlooked? Determined, she hit send, waiting anxiously for her sister's reply. Would this moment of connection be the catalyst she needed to transform both her personal and professional self into a unified force? The next morning, a wave of invigorating resolve washed over Jenna. The familiarity of her workspace greeted her like a long-lost friend. It was as if the flickering fluorescent lights and the rhythmic hum of computers held their breath, anticipating her next steps. She remembered what had shifted within her, how her voice had carved a place in the room, a resonance she yearned to sustain. Before the day began, she undid the cap on her favorite pen, a small act that felt monumental. She decided to sketch out notes, not just for her upcoming projects, but also for thoughts on assertiveness. Each stroke was a pact with herself. She wasn't merely preparing for another day. She was sculpting her identity amidst an environment that had often dulled her spirit. True to her word, she awaited her sister's reply. As the minutes turned into an hour, her initial eagerness thickened into trepidation. What if the call for support went unanswered? Or worse, if her sister dismissed her newfound resolve? Just as those doubts began circling, her phone lit up with her sister's name displayed prominently on the screen. "Jenna, I got your message. What's on your mind?" The tone was light, playful, but behind it, Jenna could sense the willingness to listen, the very trait that had previously given her courage. Taking a breath, she shared her recent challenges and aspirations. "I spoke in the meeting yesterday. It felt liberating, yet I can't shake the feeling that I might face resistance, like I'm an outsider trying to claim space where I have been overlooked." Her sister responded with a pause that Jenna felt reverberate. "You should stand tall. You deserve that space. But remember, it's not just about claiming a voice. It's also how you assert it without yielding to invalidation." Their conversation traveled deep, opening the door to strategies on navigating the complexities of assertiveness at work. Jenna jotted down tips, listening actively, validation through nods or gestures, and engaging others to build camaraderie. This exchange anchored her intentions, filling her with a renewed sense of clarity. As the workday unfurled, Jenna applied the strategies to a challenging dynamic during a team brainstorming session. When an outspoken colleague attempted to dominate the floor, she interjected gracefully, using the techniques absorbed from her sister. That's an interesting perspective, but what if we consider diversifying our approach as well? The simple redirection planted a seed of collaboration. The thrill of those moments charged her spirit, yet she couldn't shake the undercurrent of tension running alongside. Would her colleagues view her maneuvers as assertive or calculating? When another colleague challenged her views, Jenna felt the weight of doubt settle on her shoulders. But she took a breath. She would engage, not retreat. "I appreciate your viewpoint. Can you help me understand how you would incorporate my ideas into the current strategy?" The room crackled with unanticipated dynamics. Jenna extracted hybrid solutions from the exchange, weaving her voice into the narrative that had always felt foreign. However, a new tension emerged as lunch approached, sovereign of a professional battlefield. Jenna overheard dismissive comments from a senior team member. "Maybe some new voices need to be reminded of their place," he said, laughter rippling through the air like an unwelcome wind. The sting of his words pierced through her hard-won confidence. They were laced with undertones of the very skepticism she had feared. Jenna recognized his disdain wasn't simply about her, but reflected a deeper struggle within the team itself, one that questioned emerging talents versus established dynamics. As lunch lingered, she weighed her next move. Should she confront him directly, risking further isolation, or take the high road, proving her worth through diligence and competency? This dilemma loomed ominously in her mind, intensifying her resolve. Yet, this time, she would not wait in silence. She could feel a palpable shift occur within her, and it was terrifying. Stepping into this newfound confrontation felt like plunging into icy waters, both exhilarating and intimidating. Would she emerge stronger, or would this be yet another moment where silence would take her over? As Jenna prepared herself for the potential fallout, one question echoed louder than the rest. How could she advocate her presence when faced with an onslaught that questioned her very legitimacy? The moment of truth was rapidly approaching, pushing her toward a decision she never thought she would have to make. The lunch hour stretched out, a monotonous backdrop against the spirited chatter of her colleagues. Their laughter thinned, becoming a distant hum as Jenna immersed herself in the whirlwind of thoughts. Each tick of the clock punctuated her internal debate, drawing her mind away from the food on her plate to the real sustenance she craved: respect and acknowledgement. She had already navigated the tumultuous waters of her workplace before, often retreating into shadows of self-doubt. But Jenna had begun to realize the risk of silence, how it bred further invalidation. Yet, stepping into confrontation felt like teetering on the edge of an abyss. Could she truly assert herself without losing ground? The uncomfortable weight of her decision pressed heavily against her chest. The senior team member, Brad, still loomed in her mind, his scornful laughter echoing as a personal challenge. Jenna wasn't naive. She understood the complex dynamics at play. This was not merely about her voice. It was tangled in the fragile threads of hierarchy and tradition. She could see the glimmer of the hierarchy within her mind, fluctuating between wanting to be heard and fearing the risks of marginalization. As she glanced around the bustling break area, she caught sight of Brad, engrossed in conversation, exuding an air of unfounded authority. An impulsive spark ignited within her, one that cast aside doubt's grip. "Excuse me, Brad," she said, injecting her voice into the conversation like a sudden gust of wind. He turned, a trace of surprise crossing his face, quickly masked by his typical bravado. "Yeah?" Jenna steadied herself, drawing on the strategies her sister had helped outline. "I overheard your comments earlier. I want to address them directly." With every word, she felt the stirring of courage validating her presence. "It's important to me that everyone feels valued in this team, including new voices. I believe we all have something unique to offer." The ripple of silence that followed held the weight of 1,000 eyes. Jenna felt her pulse quicken, adrenaline coursing through her as she prepared for the usual defensiveness. But as she spoke, her conviction solidified within her. The way some colleagues turned their gaze toward her, curiosity mixed with apprehension, reminded her she was not alone in this moment. Brad smirked, perhaps expecting a simple retreat. "You really think you can bring something to the table? Experience matters most, you know." She inhaled deeply, resolving to respond to his provocation with clarity rather than defensiveness. "Experience does matter, but fresh perspectives can disrupt stagnant patterns. I believe innovation stems from collaboration rather than exclusion." Each assertion fortified Jenna's foundation, building on the layers of confidence she had fought hard to establish. The looks shifted in the room, some murmuring with intrigue, while others seemed to quietly assess the tension. Brad huffed, dismissive, aware that the consensus might be slipping from his grasp. His brow furrowed, irritation flickering across his face. "Fine, but don't expect me to hold your hand in meetings. It's a tough world out there." Jenna nodded, recognizing his unwillingness to yield ground. "I wouldn't dream of asking for that kind of help, Brad. I merely want to ensure we're all contributing equally." As the confrontation lingered, an unexpected ripple of support emerged from her colleagues. A few murmured in agreement, nodding sympathetically towards her. Jenna's heart raced. This was the camaraderie she had been striving to cultivate. Could she truly reshape the dynamics, or were they mere fleeting reactions? Moments later, she walked away from the exchanges, a strange blend of triumph and uncertainty threading through her. Perhaps she hadn't changed Brad, but she had illuminated her place, an outline drawn firm against the shadows. But as she stepped into the afternoon glow, reflecting on her actions, another question gripped her. How long could she sustain this newfound assertiveness against the pervasive doubts that clung to her like an unwanted shadow? With every day requiring deeper engagement, the stakes felt increasingly high. As Jenna continued to deepen her understanding of her space, a thought sparked intensely. If her voice could ignite this much change, what more could she unleash when directly confronting the overarching dynamics at play? The path forward seemed daunting, but exhilarating. The next set of challenges loomed even further, igniting the flickering flame of her ambitions. Would she be ready for the next level of confrontation? The air thickened with anticipation, and Jenna braced herself for the emotional and professional storms ahead, wondering what fate awaited when she faced not just individual voices, but the collective power of the team's dynamics. Jenna entered the office the next morning with a charged resolve swirling in her chest. The muted buzz of conversation surrounded her, but it felt different today. Electric and almost conspiratorial, like an unspoken shift had taken place overnight. She had ruffled feathers, and the undercurrents of power dynamics whispered around her as she crossed the threshold. Taking her seat at her desk, she recalled the cautious glances exchanged among her colleagues during yesterday's confrontation with Brad. Their expressions had transcended mere curiosity by the end. They hinted at a budding respect. It was intoxicating, yet an unsettling nostalgia loomed over her, reminiscent of that yearning to be validated she had lived with for so long. How easy it had been to scatter her self-worth among trivial acknowledgments and hollow praise. Jenna settled at her computer, deliberately scrolling past the emails demanding immediate responses, her instincts now keenly attuned to prioritizing what truly mattered. The weekly team meeting loomed like a dark cloud. It was typically a parade of opinions, where dominant voices drowned out brighter ideas, and her thoughts often fell to the background. But this week, she was determined to bring her perspective into the light. As the hour approached, she paced slightly, rehearsing potential contributions like a seasoned actress before a performance. Yet, confidence wavered at the edges, a flickering candle threatened by a gust of wind. What if her single voice couldn't break the monotony? The meeting commenced, and Jenna settled into her chair, stealing glances at Brad, whose self-satisfied smirk was punctuated by his habitual arrogance. He controlled the flow of conversation like a conductor leading an orchestra, and his familiarity with this role of dominance flared her nerve. Today was different, though. Her past timidity would not direct the symphony. When the team was asked to critique the latest project, Jenna's heart hammered. The words swirling in her mind grew louder, demanding their release. "I have some thoughts," she interrupted, softer than intended. Her voice felt timid against the orchestra of conversation, but reverberated with resolution. "Is that so?" Brad's mockery crept into his tone, but Jenna leaned into the challenge. "Actually, I believe that our approach could benefit from integrating a more diverse set of opinions. I noticed some patterns that might stifle creative solutions." Dismissing her with a wave, Brad continued his diatribe. "We need to stick to proven methods. New ideas only cloud judgment." Every dismissal felt like a challenge hammering at the foundation she was trying to build. Fueled by determination, Jenna pressed on. But clouding the judgment is what we risk when we avoid reframing our perspectives. Implementing fresh insights could unlock efficiency that traditional methods can't achieve. The room fell silent, the tension palpable. Colleagues were not fully on board with Brad's stance anymore. Muted nods and subtle glances exchanged were bursts of hope. Yet Brad's posture hardened. "Let's not deviate from the tried and true." In that moment, the emotional stakes escalated. Jenna had to make a choice. retreat to the role that had kept her hidden, or face the intimidating tide head-on. A steadying breath formed a wall against wavering doubt. If we only repeat past successes, how can we expect to adapt to the challenges ahead? Isn't our goal to amplify success, not merely defend it? Her words resonated after they passed her lips, like an open invitation to the team's collective future. There was energy shifting, a harnessing of potential within the room that sought to break the silence surrounding Brad's rule. Awareness blossomed as voices of support began to murmur. They were of a shared philosophy, one that favored inclusion. For the first time, Brad's discomfort was palpable, the veneer of authority cracking beneath opposing thoughts. Jenna felt exhilarated. This was the very clarity she longed for, asserting her right to belong in conversations that mattered. As the meeting drew to a close, Jenna basked in the unfamiliar sensation of acceptance and recognition. Yet, a new question lingered in her consciousness. Would her colleagues rally around her emerging leadership? Or would Brad's entrenched influence drive them away from their collaborative spirit? The landscape of her workplace was shifting, revealing new territories to navigate. Jenna realized she had opened up a new front in her professional journey, a frontier where her voice mattered. The unfamiliar exhilaration of newfound purpose surged through her. As tension simmered in the aftermath, she understood the balance was delicate. She was on the cusp of deeper confrontations that would define not only her place on the team, but her evolution as a professional. The clock was ticking. The next twist in this narrative felt imminent, and Jenna braced herself for the storm ahead. Would she rise as a true advocate, or falter against the weight of disbelief? The applause rang in Jenna's ears, echoing her triumph as she accepted accolades for her proposal to shift the team's strategy. The presentation had gone not just well, it had catapulted her to the forefront of conversation, emerging once again like a phoenix from the ashes of her past self. Her colleagues acknowledged her talents, and for the first time, their commendations felt genuine. She had stepped beyond the boundary of mere acceptance. She had gained ownership of her space in their world. That very evening, a stillness wrapped around her as she reflected on the day's chaos. The anticipation for tomorrow mingled with a newfound confidence. She opened her notes app once more, now adorned with thoughts not just of survival, but of achievement. Every idea she had shared captured her evolution, transformed from whispers of doubt into powerful statements of intent. This was the new Jenna, the woman who would not shy away from challenging conversations, from spearheading change. Amidst this newfound light, she made a resolution: to engage her colleagues in dialogue, not merely in meetings of strategy, but in deeper conversations about their experiences. Their differences could catalyze creativity, a source of strength rather than division. She felt determined as she began drafting a plan for an informal lunch brainstorming session, one that would explore engagement from various perspectives. At dinner that night, she revealed her thoughts to her family. Around the table they listened, eyes alight with understanding and recognition. Her father, a knowing smile gracing his lips, applauded her evolution. "Your voice matters, Jenna. You've always had so much to say. We're glad you're finally sharing it," he said, his words igniting a warmth within her. Ella's delight mirrored her parents as she added, "This is just the beginning. We knew you were capable of so much more." Each affirmation fortified Jenna's resolve further, infusing her with the courage to explore uncharted territories with her professional life. The night felt unlike any before. Jenna felt whole, surrounded by love yet reflecting a strength born from her battles. However, as morning dawned, her newly crafted sanctuary began to waver. Colleagues echoed praise, a budding camaraderie was growing, while shadows of adversity loomed, particularly with Brad watching from the fringe. He had always been a significant voice in the company, and she knew this shift would not sit well with him. This sentiment wrapped tightly around her thoughts as she approached the lunch meeting she had organized. As Jenna entered the room, an air of uncertainty began to ripple through her. Would they truly engage? Would her plans bring them together? The first few moments felt critical as she set the stage, welcoming them into the circle of dialogue she so ardently desired. "Thank you all for being here. I thought it would be beneficial to discuss how we engage with each other's ideas," Jenna ventured, her voice steady. As colleagues spoke, she encouraged them to share their past experiences, what shaped their perceptions, how they envisioned collaboration. The room animated with excitement, laughter breaking through the nervous tension as the conversation deepened, bridging gaps and revealing common ground. Unexpectedly, Brad wandered in. The dynamic in the room shifted. Something dark loomed. Yet, Jenna held ground, determined to sustain this atmosphere of openness. "Brad, we were just discussing how diverse perspectives fuel innovation," she ventured, inviting him in rather than shying away. His scoff cut through the warmth, but she pressed forward. "Inclusion ensures we're not confined by what has been done before. Everyone's ideas are important, whether new or seasoned." She directed her gaze across the table, witnessing nods of agreement and genuine support from her colleagues. Brad's skepticism was palpable, but she would not allow it to tarnish the momentum. The meeting concluded with actionable ideas sprouting from their discussions. Each team member had contributed to the dialogue, reaping the rewards of collaboration. Jenna left that day bolstered by affirmation. She had transformed years of silence into a voice that commanded attention, space, and respect. She had not only conquered the fear of vulnerability, but had also cultivated understanding with her peers. Returning home, her heart surged with pride. Their support reaffirmed her journey. This was more than professional success. It was the very essence of personal fulfillment. She had abandoned the passive role she'd long accepted, stepping into a future illuminated by self-advocacy and growth. But as she lay in bed that evening, whispers of doubt still trickled in. What if this power began to erode under the weight of the few resistant to change? Jenna pulled herself from the thread of uncertainty, recognizing her strength in persistence. She realized that confrontation may extend beyond Brad. Each day would present a challenge, one she was now eager to meet head-on. In her journey toward advocacy, every word spoken had transformed into a brushstroke, painting over the canvas of her life. She was not merely the woman who had regained her hearing, but a visionary working to dismantle silence and cultivate a collaborative spirit. The thriving force within her no longer wavered. It encompassed the struggle, the victories, and the unwavering commitment to self. This was just the beginning of her renewed quest, echoing promise. There would be battlegrounds to traverse, but the voice she had rediscovered would lead every endeavor forward. The time to create, to converse, to thrive had arrived. As Jenna lay down to sleep, she felt invigorated and grounded, ready for whatever storm may come, knowing full well she had embarked on a transformative journey that was only beginning. Her resolve matched the strength of her spirit, and now she was equipped to tackle anything the future demanded. Whatever lay ahead, she was ready. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment their reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.